in the reviews for in the New York Times for Million Dollar Baby, the reviewer said, "I think an Academy Award should go to the casting director who found that woman and her children
That is
in
amazing.
the wherever we were from,
Not to the person.
not to the person." Because talk about
That
you
says
know,
everything. That
Yeah.
says everything. But that should be a huge compliment to you.
well, it was, but it didn't look that way.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Margo Martindale is an actor. She sat down with me on the Upper West Side of Manhattan to talk about the work. I've heard you say that it matters what the project is in terms of how you approach the preparation work. Is that true? Like, what do you typically do as a first step to get into having to play this new person?
Well, first off, I want to know what part of the country they come from. It's vastly important to me since I come from deep East Texas, and that's what I do. That's what I do first. Like if it's something that's deeply different from me, it's easier. If it's someone that is closer to me, it's harder. Because changing is what I love about acting, being somebody different. So playing Bella Abzug, for example, was 2 months of listening to Bella Abzug, listening to her thought process, listening to her speech pattern, listening to, but it was, once I was in, I remember sitting in the office with somewhere we were shooting, and I just looked at my friends, comrades there, and said, I just landed. And it was some way I was holding a cigarette. It's that kind of thing, but it's a lot of putting on outside things to go inside. Usually that's the way it works for me. Sometimes it's inside out. Process is not anything I don't know about. Like I say, I don't have one. I use a lot of different kinds of things. I started in my backyard playing. And it was so easy to do Mags Bennett and Justified because it was just like being in my backyard, pretending to be something. And it was easy as pie,
And wait, why do you highlight that? Like, isn't that interesting that I'm taking from that it isn't always easy to play?
It's not always easy to play.
So why was Justified making it easy to play?
Why Justified made it easy to play is because I knew that I was unique in that world, that nothing I did was wrong. Nothing I did was wrong.
Freedom, yes.
And that's the most freeing thing you could ever have. I wasn't ever monitoring myself because I could only be right.
How come you can't get that every time? What stops that?
How far away, like for example, Claudia in The Americans is a very rigid, boxed off, emotionally character. So it was almost like I had to act with my hands tied. And that makes for a different, interesting feeling. And it was great to find it that way because it was not what I normally do. I don't cut myself off normally, but I was completely cut off, and it worked.
Was it shocking to find that the cutting off still ignited creativity?
Yeah, it's just shocking to find. Yes, and it did. in a different way.
Yeah, right.
A branch came out somewhere else.
Right. Right. And now you don't. Now you're not afraid of being tied. Then
I'm not afraid
on
of being
other
tied,
things.
and I'm not afraid of hitting the roof too hard.
Yeah.
And also getting older is just a marvelous thing, because you no longer have that to play.
Yes. Yes.
I was playing that part since I was 16,
Right.
playing old.
Right.
There's no playing old anymore, Margo.
Right.
You are old.
And so what does that mean? That's just like a settling into, I mean, it must be much more than a settling in. I mean, I'm feeling that as in just my life, like a freedom of like, I don't have to care at all.
Yeah, I think
It's
a lot of
something like
people
that.
feel that way. It's like, it doesn't matter what I say.
Yeah. Can you tell the story of sitting outside Harvard University in the sun and having this
wow.
epiphany?
I've forgotten about that.
And it is an epiphany moment, right?
It was.
And it's something about film acting.
It was about film acting.
Can you tell me?
Totally forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me. I was sitting under a tree on Harvard campus, and the sun hit my eyes, and I sat there and I thought, this is what film acting is about. Being seen by a sneaky eye and capturing a private moment. And I thought it was fabulous. That's really all it was.
And this was enough of a kind of a revelation that you told somebody about it, and that's how I heard about it. But I mean, did this open up something for you though about it? Like, were you doing a lot of film acting at the time? None. And so you were imagining what it must be like. But then when you actually did do it, did you think that was somehow preparing you?
I didn't even associate them.
Oh, interesting.
But I know that it was instant ease for me.
Yeah. Isn't there
And
something
like The Rocketeer or something, I remember
Yeah.
Alan Arkin saying to me, just put the camera on Margo, she knows what she's doing. And that was, I think, my first real film. I'd done a couple of little things before that.
Yeah.
No, I liked that it was just a quiet. I like that, what you're doing right now is brilliant to me.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see when I see people acting on camera, is that they're not trying to show you something. And a lot of them are.
Yeah. You said something like, acting on the stage is communal. Acting on camera is personal. Those are the words you used to separate the two.
So genius. What can I say?
But I highlight that because that's interesting, I think, to use those words, because personal means something to me, meaning like it's an experience you're having with yourself in a way. We're capturing it, but you don't have to worry about this ensemble or this.
You just need to be connected to whoever you're talking to.
Right.
And somebody who happens to be watching it. That's really it, I guess.
Right. And you're right. And I shouldn't say it's
It's
only between you, because that would be wrong. It's not great work if it's not with
It's not
somebody
connected
else.
to someone else.
Yeah. You did less plays when you started doing films. Isn't that true?
I did plays all through everything.
Oh.
And I mean, really, I worked a day job and did plays at night.
Oh.
I worked as a private investigator during
Right.
the day, and I did the Miss Firecracker contest at night.
Right.
I worked before we moved Steel Magnolias from the WPA to the Lucille Lortel. I was a spa consultant during the day and doing Steel Magnolias at night. And I did Curse of the Starving class. I can't remember what I did during the day. But, it was never enough money. So you had to do a day job. And when we moved Steel Magnolias, then it became enough money to live on.
Was there this panic or something that you had to break in somehow to television and TV in order to pay the bills?
I had no panic about anything, really. It was what happened is Steel Magnolias was an enormous hit, and everybody in Hollywood came, and I got put on a list of actors to see when you came to town. Directors would then see me. And that's when I started getting nice movie roles. I still wanted a television series. I always, in the back of my pocket, thought, I want a TV, I want a sitcom. I want a sitcom. I finally got one. It didn't last very long, but it was, I did learn how to do it, and it was really challenging and really fun. Then it just started coming. I guess I did Sidney Lumet's 100 Center Street, and then I did Cat on a Hot Tin Roof on Broadway. After that, I was nominated for a Tony, and then I didn't get a job for about six months after $1 Million Baby came out. It took about 6 months lag. And nothing. And I would go to commercial auditions, and people were furious seeing me there. And people would say, "What are you doing here? I mean, you're making all this money. What are you doing?" I said, "I don't have a job. I need a job."
That's amazing.
And I'd say 6 months into that, I got a job.
In moments like that, where it's frustrating, like what kept you going? It's already such a frustrating business, right? Ups and downs. Do you just have an innate love for this?
I do.
And it just fuels
I
moments?
love acting.
Yeah.
I just absolutely love it. It really is. It's my hobby. It's, I have a wonderful family. But it is my passion. And I've been fortunate, really fortunate. I've always believed in myself, even when people told me they weren't hiring me.
Okay, wait. How did you have that?
I just had it.
That's amazing. Do you think your
people,
mother?
My mother. I think my mother. But people have asked me that a lot, and people that I grew up with said, "You always had that."
Amazing.
And that was just a gift that. A gift. It was a gift. I don't mean my acting skills were a gift. I mean my belief in myself that I actually knew something.
Yeah.
I knew something. When people didn't hire me, I'd say, well, they were just stupid.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
I say, well,
yeah.
that was a real stupid move, but all right.
When you were on The Millers, you said that you'll eventually get this.
Yes.
And what did that mean? Like you weren't able to...
I was not fast enough. And it is one fast-paced situation. I mean, Will Arnott said to me, he said, you got to go faster. Come on, Margo, you got to go faster. I said, I am not you. That your speed is not my speed.
Right.
And he was just so facile. He was just, he's just incredible. But I, and also you can't flub.
Oh, yeah.
Like Jimmy Burrows directed every one of those, and he would go, honey, go back. You said, So no, Jimmy, really? Yeah, go back. Go back. Go back. So you can't do that.
Wow.
So it becomes not acting.
Right.
It becomes something else.
Right.
And I don't know really quite what that is.
Yeah.
But it's a skill that is remarkable to me.
And I'm sure some people that aren't great actors are good at it then, right?
I guess so, yeah. It's music, really.
Yeah. And rhythm, yeah.
It's
rhythm,
music and rhythm, which I have a lot of rhythm.
Yeah.
But I don't.
But did you eventually get it? Did you eventually
I did.
get it?
I did eventually get it, but
Yeah.
it took massive hours of memorization, massive, because I had a huge amount of words. So I, you know, I mean, to the point of just wrote, going over it, over, to where I could speed talk
Yeah.
in a speed that wasn't mine.
Yeah.
That's what made it so hard. It wasn't
Yeah.
my speed.
Yeah. Did this then, just conquering that, did that serve you in other aspects of the work outside, like when you went back to normal
Yeah, I
things?
think that knowing how working on scripts, I work very hard to get it down pat, because that obviously gives you great freedom.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe I hadn't been as diligent about that before. And I am now. I mean, I had a 3-page monologue in this thing I'm doing now, and I just went over it 3 times a day.
And do you find that, because some people have been on this show claiming that they need to actually stay away from this kind of perfect memorization in order to be pulling in the moment, and that creates this kind of
Reality.
perfect sauce or whatever, right? I'm going by your face right now. Do you think that that's
Well, no,
wrong?
I think that it can be. Everybody's is different.
Right.
I think that for me, being clean with the words gave me more freedom than anything.
Right.
So that I didn't have to think about the words.
Right.
On stage, sometimes it was hard to, because you're repeating every night, hard to stay in the moment sometimes. Stay in the moment, because then you start hearing it in your head.
Yeah.
You go through periods of not being as you should be. That's why doing television and film is easier.
Can you describe what works best for you from a director, and has that changed?
What's great is to work with someone you've worked with a lot in a television show, really. I mean, because you're getting you get repeat people, and somebody just needs to say, and then you should, I got it. Don't say anymore. Because I know where they're going to go with that.
Yeah.
Bryan Cranston was a really good person to direct me. Adam Arkin is a very good person to direct me, because he knows me well.
And both of these people are actors.
And both of them are actors.
And you think that matters?
No, because Robert Benton couldn't be a better director.
Okay.
And
why?
Alexander Payne couldn't be a better director. Alexander Payne, for example, in Paris Je T'aime.
It's one of the legendary performances.
And all because of
time.
Alexander Payne's writing. But he told me what to think. So he said, now you're thinking like... And so it only happened in my face.
Wow.
What to think.
Was he telling you that moment to moment, or like scene to scene?
Sort of moment to moment, but
Holy smokes.
it was like being directed by a silent film director.
Yeah. Wow.
And the last scene on the bench in the park is the first scene we shot.
Oh.
And so Alexander said, you don't have to worry anything more about this, because that was the film.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so we could go back and do it. It was wonderfly fun.
Wow. But see, that kind of pinpoint kind of direction, it would seem like that's not ideal for an actor, right? Why was that ideal?
It was ideal because it was his vision.
And what about Benton that worked? Benton?
Oh, well, he's just fabulous and kind and a Texan. And I love him and know him. He's one of my dear friends now. He's 91 years old.
Yeah, I was going to say he must be up there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
And I did his last 3 movies.
Mm.
And he said, well, he just, I mean, we just love each other. It's just great.
That matters, right? I mean, do you have to literally like somebody
really,
as a person?
I think you really need to think they like you. It really helps if I think they like me, because that means I can't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
But if they're going to be judging me, it's going to be a different story. It's all about trust. It's all about trust.
Yes.
I've been around directors who I really like, and very famous ones, who choose somebody really to hate.
Mm.
And all that person could do was mess up because of that.
Yeah. After Justified, after The Americans, did you find yourself in a new kind of world where you were able to really be selective more than ever? And what did that mean for you?
Well, I meant to, I could turn down every Southern thing that came down the road. Not that I wouldn't want a fabulous, juicy Southern roll.
Yeah.
But that was my bread and butter for so many years. Mm-hmm. And people finally figured out that I could actually act other parts. I mean, I think they thought I was just being myself. Yeah. I mean, in the reviews for in the New York Times for $1 Million Baby, the reviewer said, "I think an Academy Award should go to the casting director who found that woman and her children in the wherever we were from."
Not to the person.
Not to the person, because talk about
that says everything. That says everything. But that should be a huge compliment to you.
Well, it was, but it didn't look that way.
So then when you realized that people knew you were an actual actor, and then you started to choose things that were letting you let out some kind of muscle that you weren't able to let out before, and was this satisfying just a wish of playing different kinds of roles, or were you actively trying to grow as an actor?
I think trying to grow as an actor, and I always wanted to play different kinds of roles.
Yeah.
I mean, Claudia in The Americans was a very different role for me.
Yeah.
And in that, were very satisfying.
Mm-hmm. How does something come to you now? Like, do you have just a ton of things that get sent your way, and you rifle through them? Like, I'm trying to figure out how something like The Sticky comes, and that you choose that. And
I had about 3 television series sent to me at that same time. Mm. One was very interesting, but it was set in a place that I'm not. Here's an area of the world that is very difficult for me. The Bostonian area. And it was set in something in Boston, around Boston. Very interesting, and then another show, and then The Sticky came, and I thought, Canadian. Now Canada interests me, and I thought it was wildly fun and quick, and it's the one I chose.
Yeah,
it was the 3 that came at the same time. Like, I've been connected to this movie I'm going to go do in February for 2 years. Mm. And I'm a little scared. Mm. I'm a truck driver, and I finally got the nerve up to say, "Do I have to drive the truck? Am I driving the truck?"
And would you rather not?
I would rather not.
Yeah. Only because it's scary to drive a truck, or because you don't feel like you need to, as an actor, actually drive the thing?
Because I think it's scary driving a truck. I think it's scary climbing up into a truck. That's how scary I find it. But I'm doing it, so.
Wow. I mean, somebody like, Tracy Letts was on the show, and he said, and this was the first time I think I ever heard anyone say this. He's like, if I'm got cast in a role and I'm the guy that works this machine, I don't need to know how to work that machine. In real life, he's like, some people spend 3 months learning everything about, I don't need to know that. I'm an actor. I'm pretending. I thought that was so interesting.
That really makes me happy.
And so I can imagine, like, they'll make us believe that you're driving this truck.
Or I won't look like I'm driving the truck.
But aren't you worried about doing something that looks like you're not driving if you're not driving? Yes, of course. So what do you do to stop that?
Well, I guess I'll see, won't I?
Yeah, or maybe it's somebody else's job to tell you that you have to
Well, it certainly will be somebody else's job.
That's right. And maybe an actor should let that be somebody else's job.
Yes.
Right?
That's right. Makes me happy about Tracy. Tracy Letts and I did we did a lot of the publicity for August Osage County together. And at the end of the interviews, we'd sing Oklahoma.
Nice.
Oh, he's so wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. So you weren't thinking, oh man, Canada, it's cold up there. Like, I mean, like, what, do you think about stuff like that?
I thought about things like chainsaws.
Yeah. In a good way or a bad way?
In a bad way. But I was very happy that there were no motors in them.
Right, right.
So they were not as heavy as I was concerned they would be.
Interesting.
And also, I couldn't cut any of my limbs off.
Yes. I must tell you, you look like you handled a chainsaw all your life.
Well, thank you.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't think maybe I handled one once.
That's amazing. Well done.
Thanks.
Now, does who your co-stars are going to be factor into this decision making? Like, did you find out who these people were, and does that matter to you?
Yes, it matters that we're cut from the same cloth.
And how do you find out if you don't know already?
Well, I knew who it was down to for my not, and I knew Guillaume Cyr. I'd seen his reel, and I thought he was just wonderful. And Chris, it was down between Chris and another guy, and everybody said Chris, hands down. Yeah. He's not quite cut. We're not really the same kind of actor, but he is so skilled that he can do anything.
Yeah. Have you had to act with people that you don't like, and what do you do?
I have had to act with people I don't like. I finally went to the director and said, "You got to do it," and he dealt with it.
What does that mean?
Well,
that person off the planet now?
The person didn't. It was on me. It started on me, and she didn't know her lines.
Oh, I see.
So he finally said, "Read from the script."
Yeah.
And that saved it.
Yeah.
Besides worrying about chainsaws, what was your challenge of inhabiting Ruth?
Do you like how what's the right word, bombastic she is, or like, you know what I mean, in terms of a persona?
I thought that it was a different note that I've played before.
Yeah.
And I thought that was good. It was that I started high and went higher. That's usually not the way I would do it.
Yeah.
But that's where she was in the story, and I thought that was good. So that was different for me, of starting at a high place and going higher. I mean, going to the moon, really.
Yeah.
Was that challenging? The only thing challenging about it was keeping it up there, and when you had to crash and come down, and show a vulnerability.
Yeah. Speaking of that, there's a moment at the end of maybe it was episode 4 where you have to do this insane thing of yelling, of crying, no. And then a second later, yelling, no. It felt like there was, maybe it's on the page, like a certain way of doing the
Let
first.
me just say, I
Yeah.
did that thing a jillion times. A jillion.
Wow.
And in a circle. I did it in a circle, screaming in a circle.
Oh my
and then
God.
falling onto the ground, falling on the floor, and all of that, and crying and blah blah blah. So I can't remember what was left of that because I finally said, "Please tell me you have this because I cannot do this anymore."
And they did.
And they did. Well, they had it a long time ago
Yeah.
because they cut most of what I ended up doing. Well, and also when it's first pure and real, take that one, please.
Right, right.
Don't make me do it 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
Yeah. Where do you pull from on take 8? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you have gas if there's
I
no
usually
gas?
try to do something else
Yeah,
because you can't just keep doing that.
right. In times like this, do you wish that you were back on the stage?
You know what I mean? Like, there's something great about film acting in this way, but then when it gets to something like that, no. Okay, that was.
I mean,
a shaking
I'm
head.
you know, I've been approached many times.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of this, is there a role on the stage that you never got a chance to do, or that you're growing into now?
Yeah, I'd like to do a nice song in a musical, a quick, fun song in a musical.
Why? What does that satisfy?
I don't know. It's just satisfying.
Is it the kid in the backyard?
Yeah, it's a kid in the backyard, but it's also I love musicals. So I mean, I directed Oklahoma in my backyard. I played Ada Wanny, Will Parker, Curly, and I gave the little silly Laurie to one of the girls down the alley.
It was sold out, so I couldn't see that. I wish I. But there is really something to that I think we can't just, entirely laugh about. There is, you're still that kid, aren't you?
Yeah.
I mean, you still have to be free, like in that yard, for this work to get the best out of you, right?
Yep.
And why don't people who make things know that yet?
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yes,
not
I
just
do.
you. It's not just you that we're literally in the backyard. It's all of these
Most
adults who are
so
children.
many people started in the backyard.
That's right. Or some version of a backyard. And they just are trying to get back there. And we get to benefit if they get to be back there.
I mean, I had a playhouse in my backyard that was a beauty shop. I cut all the kids in the neighborhood's hair to the horror of their parents. And, I had an orphanage in my backyard,
Yeah.
head of an orphanage. And I was a school teacher, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Great
all
roles.
fun. And then I did these musicals.
Yeah.
And also, I had pet shows, talent shows for pets, and whose pet always won?
Mm-hmm.
Mine. Well, I was the judge.
Yes.
The Sticky, season 5. Are you thrilled that the world at large loves this show and you get to explore this character, or are you itching to move on?
I would say thrilled. I'm delighted to do 2 and 3. I'd like to do 2 and 3 together. And, it's just you're going to get too old at one point to be, because it's all takes place one day after the next.
Right.
And but also I'm looking for something new.
Yeah. I guess the subtext of my question is, are you always looking for something new? Do you know what I mean? Do you get bored with a role? Is it you've had such great roles on shows that you got to explore multi-seasons, but are you done with that now?
No, I love doing the Americans. I must say, I loved it. But those were superior writers, and I mean, all of the writers I've had have been really, really good. These young men that do the Sticky are just very fresh and fun, and Brian Donovan and Harrow, I love them. And Graham Yost is one of my favorite writers in the world. So
Yeah. That matters. The writing
it matters.
matters.
It matters more than just about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Margo Martindale, do you think that you may want to come back on the show again one day?
Sure.
All right. I would like that.
That'd be fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
Finally, after only 7 years.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.